All right, buckle up, because today we're diving deep into aliens.
And we've got some seriously in-depth analysis to work with.
So get ready to explore what makes this sequel a total sci-fi masterpiece.
It builds on the foundation of Alien, but it also carves its own path.
Right. Alien was pure horror, that slow burn that gets under your skin and stays there.
Yeah, it's amazing how Aliens cranks up the action.
But keeps those terrifying xenomorphs.
It doesn't lose that sense of dread at all.
It's like director James Cameron figured out the secret sauce for sequels.
How to honor the original, but still give you something fresh and exciting?
So true. But how does he pull that off?
Well, think about it. He uses action to build suspense.
I like that.
That dropship landing on LV-426.
Yeah.
Full-on military operation, but underneath it all.
We know what's waiting down there.
Exactly.
That tension, it just builds and builds.
Like a pressure cooker about to blow.
Perfect analogy. Okay, but then we fast forward 57 years.
Ripley's rescued.
But she's clearly still haunted by what happened on the Nostromo. Of course.
And then there's this new element, her daughter.
Who died while she was adrift.
Right. Such a small detail, but it completely changes her character.
Absolutely. It adds a whole new dimension.
In Alien, it was all about survival.
Pure and simple.
But now there's this undercurrent of grief.
Loss that shapes her decisions.
Especially when she meets Newt.
It's like she sees a chance to be the mother she never got to be.
And that drives her to protect Newt.
At all costs.
Powerful stuff. And speaking of setting the stage, did you notice how much time the film spends building up the tension?
Before we even see a xenomorph.
It's that slow burn again.
But it makes the payoff so much more intense.
Totally. We see Ripley's distrust of Weyland-Yutani.
That massive corporation that sent her out there in the first place.
It's almost like the movie saying, watch out for the corporations.
They might be just as dangerous as the aliens.
They're definitely not the good guys. And then you have the mystery surrounding the colonist on LV-426.
We know something went terribly wrong. But we don't get the full picture until later.
It's like Cameron's toying with us, letting our imaginations run wild.
Yeah, what horrors could be lurking in the shadows? And then when things finally hit the fan, you see this incredible contrast.
On one side, you've got humanity's ambition.
Terraforming this harsh planet.
Driven by Weyland-Yutani's greed.
And then, bam, you get hit with the raw, unstoppable force of the xenomorphs.
It's almost a cautionary tale.
Be careful what you mess with.
Nature, or in this case, alien nature, always finds a way.
It's awesome, though, how even with all the action and horror, Aliens still gives us these incredible characters.
Oh, absolutely.
Sigourney Weaver as Ripley, total icon.
She really is. She goes from survivor to protector.
In the first film, she's reacting to the threat.
Just trying to stay alive.
But here, she's taking charge.
Making tough choices.
Stepping up to lead.
And her connection with Newt adds another layer.
Doesn't it?
The film explores this whole idea of motherhood and protection on two totally different levels.
You've got Ripley.
And you've got the alien queen.
Both fiercely protective of their own.
Exactly.
And then there's the rest of the cast. Apone, the tough sergeant.
Trying to keep the Marines in line.
And Hudson, our resident scaredy cat.
Yeah.
But honestly, who wouldn't be terrified?
She's the everyman thrown into this nightmare.
Then you've got Vasquez, tough as nails, shattering those stereotypes about women in combat.
She's the one you want by your side in a firefight.
For sure. And we can't forget Bishop, the android. He's a far cry from Ash in Alien.
Much more helpful.
But it makes you wonder.
If synthetics can actually be human.
Human.
Ugh.
Deep stuff. But then you have Burke, the real villain of the story.
Driven by corporate greed.
Willing to sacrifice everyone just to get his hands on a xenomorph.
It really makes you think.
Who are the real monsters here?
The aliens following their instincts.
Or the humans driven by greed and ambition?
It's a disturbing thought.
But it's something the film really makes you confront.
Okay, but can we talk about the visuals?
Oh, we have to.
Remember, this is 1986.
And those practical effects. The miniatures, the way the xenomorphs move, it's still mind-blowing today.
Cameron was a master of practical effects.
He really was a visionary.
Miniatures, animatronics, puppetry. He used it all to create these believable creatures and environments.
And it creates this visceral, almost tangible feeling that's missing from a lot of CGI today.
I know what you mean. You can practically feel the slime dripping off those xenomorphs.
Gross. But also That's so cool. And don't forget the sets. You have the cold, sterile look of the space station.
Contrasting with that organic, almost gothic horror of the xenomorph nest.
It really highlights that clash between human technology and the alien's primal nature.
And it's not just about the visuals, right? There are layers upon layers of meaning here.
We've talked about motherhood and corporate greed, but there's more to unpack.
Definitely. There's this whole idea of military hubris
The Marines thinking they're invincible.
and underestimating the threat. It's a classic sci-fi trope, right?
Totally. Underestimating the unknown. But it works because we see the Marines go from cocky to terrified in a heartbeat.
Even the most advanced weaponry can't always conquer fear.
True that. And then there's the theme of survival and sacrifice. Ripley's constantly making these impossible choices,
She is.
but it's that decision to go back for Newt that sets her apart.
Absolutely. It's a defining moment.
She's not just thinking about saving herself, she's putting herself on the line for something bigger.
For something more.
It's a pretty powerful statement. And did you notice how Cameron nails the pacing?
He does!
He balances these quiet character moments.
With explosions of pure action.
It's masterful.
The whole movie builds toward that epic battle in the alien queen's nest. And that final showdown between Ripley and the Queen and the power loader. Pure cinema.
I'm on the edge of my seat every time.
Me too.
But look, Aliens is an amazing film,
It is.
but even incredible films have their critics, right?
Of course. No film is perfect.
There's been some debate about the countdown timer.
Leading up to the colony's destruction.
It's like they might have stretched it a bit to keep the tension high. And some people argue that certain Marines are basically just there to be killed off,
It's true that some of them are less developed.
so their deaths don't hit as hard.
If we'd gotten to know them better.
And that tactical blunder.
Sending everyone down to the planet.
Leaving the spaceship unguarded.
Seems a bit risky.
It's one of those moments where you just scratch your head.
It does make you wonder.
But hey, these are pretty minor flaws when you consider how exceptional the film is overall.
I agree.
Okay, but there's no denying the cultural impact of Aliens.
No way.
This film influenced countless other movies, video games. It redefined what a sci-fi sequel could be.
It showed that sequels could be just as good as the original, if not better.
It raised the bar for storytelling in the genre.
Blending action and horror in a way that hadn't been seen before.
And let's not forget its impact on strong female characters in sci-fi.
Ripley was a game changer.
Yeah. A woman leading the charge in a genre that was often dominated by men. And the film made us think about corporate greed, about the consequences of our actions, about what it means to be human in the face of the unknown.
Big questions.
But that's what great sci-fi does.
Absolutely.
So we've covered a lot of ground here.
We have.
We've seen how Aliens takes what worked in Alien and amps it up,
More action.
but without losing those core elements of suspense and horror.
It's a delicate balance.
And Cameron nailed it.
It's that blend that's so impressive.
Action, horror, even some social commentary.
All woven together seamlessly.
It's like he took Alien and turned everything up to 11.
Oh, yeah.
Did you notice the sound design, though?
Absolutely.
It just adds to the intensity.
The screeching of the xenomorphs.
The clatter of those futuristic weapons.
The pulsating score is visceral.
It gets under your skin.
It really does.
I know, right? It's not just about jump scares either.
No.
It's that constant sense of dread that Cameron builds.
He really is a master of suspense.
Yeah. And the way he uses silence.
Just as important as the sound effects.
Those quiet moments before something terrifying happens.
Like he's playing with us.
Keeping us on edge.
He knows exactly how to push our buttons.
He's a master manipulator of emotions. And visually, the film is just as striking, wouldn't you say?
Oh, absolutely.
The darkness, the
The
shadows.
claustrophobic feel of those spaceship corridors.
You feel like you're right there with them.
Feeling their vulnerability.
Exactly. It's like Cameron understands the power of suggestion.
He doesn't need to show us everything.
He lets our imaginations fill in the blanks.
Which makes it even scarier.
Like he's saying, here's a glimpse of the monster, now imagine what else it can do. And when we finally do see those xenomorphs, wow, fast, relentless, terrifying, just pure nightmare fuel.
It's that biomechanical horror.
What is that exactly?
You got that sleek, predatory look.
Yeah.
Blending organic and artificial elements in this really unsettling way.
It's like they're not just monsters.
They're these disturbing works of art.
Disturbing is right. What stands out to you most about their design?
I think it's the way they move.
Oh, for sure.
Fluid and quick. But there's also this strange elegance.
Yeah.
Like they were born to kill.
It's both beautiful and terrifying at the same time,
Exactly.
which makes them all the more compelling.
And even with all that horror and action,
Aliens never loses sight of its characters.
Ripley's journey is at the heart of it all.
Her transformation from survivor to protector is what makes this film so powerful.
It really is.
She's not some invincible superhero.
No.
She's a real person who's been through trauma and is still dealing with the aftermath.
She's relatable.
And inspiring.
I admire her resilience.
It's true.
She's been through hell.
But she's still standing.
Not afraid to fight for what she believes in.
And willing to put herself on the line to protect others.
That's what makes her a hero.
And then there's her relationship with Newt.
Right.
It adds a whole other layer to the story.
It's not just Ripley battling aliens.
It's about her finding a connection.
With this little girl who's lost everything.
It's like a beautiful portrayal of surrogate motherhood.
It is.
Ripley sees herself in Newt.
And she's determined to give her a chance.
A chance at a future that she might never have.
Which raises the stakes even higher.
It's not just about Ripley's survival anymore.
It's about protecting this innocent child.
Exactly. Speaking of heroism, we should probably talk about the supporting cast.
They might not have as much screen time.
But they each bring something unique.
Oh yeah, for sure.
You've got a Pone,
The grizzled sergeant.
trying to keep order, but even he's shaken by what they encounter.
He's the old guard
Experienced, battle-hardened.
and still capable of being surprised.
And then there's Hudson, the comic relief.
He's terrified.
Doesn't try to hide it either.
He's like the voice of the audience.
saying what we're all thinking.
Exactly.
But I love that his fear doesn't paralyze him.
No.
He still steps up when it counts.
And then there's Vasquez.
Tough, competent.
She proves that women can be just as badass as the men.
You think her character challenged gender stereotypes back then?
Oh, absolutely.
She's not there to be rescued.
Yeah.
She's a vital part of the team.
Skilled, fearless.
Doesn't let anyone push her around.
It's a refreshing change from the typical damsel in distress.
It really is.
So common in those old sci-fi films.
And what about Bishop, the android? He's such a complex character.
He is.
He seems to have genuine empathy.
For the crew.
Which makes you wonder, what does it really mean to be human?
It's a question that science fiction has grappled with for decades.
Can machines truly feel?
It's a fascinating question.
It is. But then you have the human villains,
Like Burke.
who remind us that sometimes the biggest threat doesn't come from outer space.
He embodies corporate greed at its worst.
He really does.
Willing to sacrifice anything.
Lives, ethics, the
I think
planning.
that's to get his hands on a xenomorph specimen.
Do you think there's a message there about corporate power?
Oh, absolutely.
Uncheck it, and it can become a very dangerous thing.
It's a chilling reminder that sometimes the most terrifying monsters are human.
Burke is definitely a villain you love to hate.
He is.
But even with all the darkness and danger,
Aliens is ultimately a story about hope.
about the power of the human spirit,
To overcome adversity
it's a testament to our strength,
in the face of fear,
our ability to connect,
even in extreme situations.
and to fight for what we believe in.
No matter the cost.
And Ripley embodies all of that.
She does.
She's a symbol of resilience,
Compassion.
unwavering courage.
She reminds us that even when things seem hopeless,
There's always a reason to keep fighting.
and that's a message that resonates today.
Just as strongly as it did back in 1986.
It's a film that keeps on giving.
You always catch something new.
Some little detail.
Or a connection you didn't see before.
It rewards repeat viewings.
For sure. I'm always amazed by how relevant those themes still are today.
Corporate greed. Exploitation.
Blind faith in technology.
It's like Cameron had a crystal ball.
Saw what our world would become.
Aliens is more than just an action movie.
Oh, way more.
It's a commentary on human nature.
Our strengths and weaknesses.
The choices we make when things get tough.
It makes you think, but it's not preachy either.
It's subtle.
It just sticks with you.
That's what great science fiction does.
Takes us to other worlds.
Introduces us to fascinating characters.
Makes us think about big ideas.
But in a way that's both entertaining and thought-provoking.
And Aliens just nails it.
Thrills, chills, and all those feels.
Wrapped up in this visually stunning package.
And we can't forget about those unforgettable characters.
Especially Ripley.
She's a cinematic icon.
Her influence on pop culture is huge.
She really paved the way for strong female characters.
Not just in sci-fi, but across the board.
What do you think makes her so enduring?
I think it's that she's both tough and vulnerable.
Yes, she's a badass.
But she also shows real emotion.
Compassion.
She's not afraid to be scared, but she doesn't let fear control her.
It's that complexity that makes her so relatable.
She's not perfect.
She's flawed, she makes mistakes.
But she always gets back up.
and keeps fighting.
She's the best of humanity.
Resilience empathy,
The will to do what's right, even when it's terrifying.
and in a world like ours.
With all the challenges we're facing,
We need heroes like Ripley
to inspire us.
to keep pushing forward.
Absolutely. She shows us that we can all be heroes in our own lives,
We might not be battling aliens.
but we can still face our fears, stand up for what we believe in.
And make a difference.
So as we wrap up our deep dive into aliens, we want to leave you with one final thought.
What part of Ripley's story sticks with you the most?
What lessons can we learn from her journey?
How can we be more like Ripley in our everyday lives?
These are the questions we hope this deep dive has sparked for you.
Because at the end of the day,
Aliens is more than just a movie.
it's a reflection of ourselves,
Our capacity for both good and evil.
our struggles and our triumphs.
It's a story that stays with you
It makes you think.
about the world, the choices we make.
The kind of person we want to be.
So keep exploring, keep asking questions,
And keep fighting those personal xenomorphs.
whatever they may be.